Hey everyone, I'm Almar of almarsguides.com, and this video here is going to be going over my Haruspex build in Titan Quest. So this is a combination of hunting and dream, and there are multiple ways to play this build. You can play it with a spear, a throwing weapon, or a bow. And as you can see, I chose a spear. The reason that I chose a spear is because I think dream works better with melee combat. I really don't like the dream build with ranged combat. I don't think it goes too well. Hunting and dream together with ranged, just personal preference, not my cup of tea. So, let's start with going over the abilities in the hunting tree. Study Prey is one of the more important ones. You throw Study Prey on a boss at the same time you pop Call of the Hunt, and you're going to basically drop them really fast. The only downside about Study Prey is it only has an 8-second duration, so it's like, it's one of those things that you have to constantly refresh, and I personally hate abilities like that. The short duration debuffs that you have to do on enemies. So, it's a good ability, but it is an annoying one. So, Call the Hunt, like I said, goes very well with Study Prey, and it is also a more or less short duration buff that you're going to cast on yourself. Very good for boss fights. I recommend maxing out Exploit Weakness with Call of the Hunt. It's a very good combo, and I put 1 point into Finesse as well as 1 point into Flush Out. Since I have plus skills, I have plus 3 skills in hunting to overall, so I like to put 1 point into some skills to gain, a little bit more benefit from them from my plus skills. So next up, we're going to be skipping the entire marksman tree because we're not bows and we're not throwing. We use Psionic Touch instead since we're spear. And Takedown, I really like this ability because it's like a second Phantom Strike. You just basically hit it and you zip right on over to the enemy, and it's also good for getting out of, a pack of shit. If you can target something out of it, you can just zip right on over to them. And then 1 point in the Eviscerate for the plus skills bonus. 1 point in the Gouge for the plus skills bonus. Volley is very good. You want to max this out. And then you have Spear Dance, which I'm pretty sure is an anniversary ability. It's a new one. It's basically just a little twirl AoE, like I'll show you right here. I don't know why I ran all the way over there, but yeah. Basically a little twirl AoE like that. And it does a decent amount of damage. And it also fears enemies away from you, so it's good for scattering enemies if you got a lot on you. Art of the Hunt, this is going to be your energy reserve ability that you have on you pretty much all the time, and it's great. Max it out. Find Cover, this is one of the best hunting abilities you can get because it gives you a 32% chance to avoid projectiles, which is huge, especially in later acts and later difficulties. Like in Act 4 when you get all those macabre, however they're pronounced, archers that are shooting at you, and there's like 20 of them at a time. It's the difference between living and dying. And you also have Trailblazing, which I see a lot of people put 1 point into, but I maxed out because I want more movement speed, and I also want reduced trap duration. Because if you look at this, Ensnare, this is the trap, and all enemies basically, their trap ability is very similar to this one, if not exactly the same. See on it how it says minus 300% defensive ability? That only stays on you so long as the trap lasts on you, and defensive ability is very important for your survival. So the more you can decrease the trap duration, the better. And that brings us to Woodlore, which boosts our defensive ability and attack, and it's also at the bottom of the hunting tree. You can max this out in normal, very early on in normal, and it makes you basically just a living tank. And it's very good. So Herbal Remedy, this is something I just started messing with recently, but it seems to be a very good ability, especially for somebody who lacks poison resistance. But it's a long duration ability that you can just pop on yourself, and yeah, I mean, it's max it out, and you can keep it on yourself almost all the time. It has a 0 duration or 0 second cooldown, and it lasts a couple minutes, so it's not a difficult buff to keep on yourself. Monster Lore and Detonate, these things are for more archers, not me. And as for the Dream Tree, we have Trance of Empathy, Trance of Convalescence, and Trance of Wrath. I personally think Trance of Convalescence is the best one. However, I'm currently experimenting with Trance of Empathy, and it's a second runner-up to Trance of Convalescence. The Trance of Wrath is by far the worst one. It only hurts enemies that are in the area around you, and it's eh. Trance of Convalescence gives you health regen, energy regen, and damage absorption, which is really good. The only downside is it reserves more energy, which isn't that big of a deal since we don't really use our energy to begin with. But Trance of Empathy I like, though, damage reflected, and it also gives me life leech, percent damage converted to health, which is nice. So the main abilities in Dream for both ranged and melee are going to be Lucid Dream, Premonition, and Temporal Flux, the ones I'm mousing over right now. These are your passives, and as you can see, they give you basically offensive ability, defensive ability, movement speed, slow resistance, vitality damage, burn damage, and physical damage, and their percentage boosts to a lot of these things. The main one worth mentioning, though, is Temporal Flux. This chance to avoid projectiles stacks with the one in Hunting Mastery, and this is what makes this build so good. Both of these, chance to avoid projectiles, it really, really, really makes a difference in later difficulties and later acts when archers are such an issue. So Psionic Touch I get because I am a spear Haruspex, and I put 1 point into Distortion Field and Psionic Burn because I have plus skills and I would like to benefit from those. Since I'm not using marksmanship, we want Psionic Touch. So basically, ranged Haruspexes use marksmanship, and they do the puncture shot arrows and scatter shot arrows in the marksmanship tree. Melee Haruspexes, you're going to be doing Psionic Touch. That's the main difference between the two, besides, the fact that one is melee and one is ranged. Melee is also going to be using Phantom Strike. You do not want this ability if you are a ranged Haruspex, because it's basically completely worthless. But it is one of your biggest damage dealing abilities that you're going to be using all the time on regular mobs and bosses for a melee Haruspex, or really any melee Dream spec / build there is. Dream Stealer is the skill that's tied to Phantom Strike. The main reason you want to put a lot of points into this is because it increases the duration of the stun, which is very, very helpful. It basically, the longer you stun them for, the more damage you get to deal to them without them being able to deal damage back to you. And that brings us to Distort Reality, which is the final skill that we're going to mention in this tree. And this is kind of a 1 point wonder. I just got it when I got like level 68, so quite a ways into leveling up. And what I like about this is it's another stun. I can basically Phantom Strike into the pack of enemies, and then wait a few seconds until that stun fades, pop Distort Reality, stun them all again, and then I can also do the Spear Dance and fear some of them out of the pack, so I can, once the stun fades on all of them, I can get a more manageable amount of mobs with me. Any of the mobs that manage to survive, that is. And one last time, if you'd like to see these skills, or if you'd like to copy my skill trees, pause the video and look at all the skills that I have maxed, and max them yourself. Remember, I have +3 to skills in both Hunting and Dream, so I don't actually have like 4 points in to flush out. I only have 1, but I have +3 extra because of my plus skills. And I also have these pictures of my specs and builds on my website, almarsguides.com, so you can copy them there if you would like. You can see the picture versions instead of having to pause the video. And for the rest of this video, I'm going to show you this build in action. Right now, we are currently at the end portion of Act 1 on the highest on a legendary difficulty. So let me show you, like, we'll group up the mobs here. We'll stun them with Distort Reality. I like to run out, Phantom Strike back in. As you can see, some survive. I don't think my bleed hit them. That's one way to do it, though. As you can see, I tear through mobs when it's just them. I do out-level these mobs, though, so that does make a little bit of a difference. And it's worth noting, too, I use a third-party program to speed up my movement speed / the game speed. So it's slightly faster than playing on very fast. Keep that in mind if you're watching me zip around. So as you can see, Phantom Strike kills almost everything that you use it. Phantom Strike is insanely powerful. Insanely powerful. Watch this. Boom. Basically, like well, one mob died, the rest were almost dead. The rest took like one shot until they were dead. Let me see if I can get a good pack of mobs. We're gonna stun them. Use my spear dance to scatter them, and then when they regroup, Phantom Strike on top of myself. So as you can see, I can dispatch packs of mobs just ridiculously fast. Distort Reality to stun them, Phantom Strike into them, kill most of them. Spear Dance to scatter them and bleed them. Here's a whole. Phantom Strike took out 3 of them immediately. And then I can kind of just run through them like this. With singles. I'd like to find a boss before I end this video. I don't think there is one in Parnassus Caves though, and I think I'm lost a little bit. Hero mob up here though. I can show you a hero mob. See how I have all these range shooting at me? And see how basically they're doing almost no damage whatsoever to me? This is the power of 50% chance to avoid projectiles. Insanely useful for parts of the game where you get lots of enemies that throw shit at you. So here's the hero mob. Watch how, ouchies, they're messing me up. So this is how we handle packs of big scary mobs. Ouchies, damn it. I kept, my Phantom Strike got interrupted, so I couldn't, it didn't work out exactly how I would like it to. Or rather, my Phantom Strike didn't hit the mobs. I think that's a bug in the game when it does that. So much for showing you how awesome it is, though, right? It's because we tried to pull too much. And now we got our vengeance, though. We just ran through all of them. If you don't run into a giant pack of like 30 mobs, then it's not, you usually don't, encounter a situation like that where you die really quickly. That was just me trying to show off and failing miserably at it. See, that's the power of Distort Reality. Notice how it basically interrupts all of their casting and stuns them for a very short duration, and that's all for just one skill point, which, isn't a bad investment at all if you ask me. But that's, you can see how much more damage I do when I do the Study Prey short duration buff. Let me show you. with them steady prey. Okay, break him. So that's, as you can see, they drop so much faster when they're under the effects of steady prey. It's just not an enjoyable play style, in my opinion, having to always use that each time before you start attacking. If you actually enjoy playing it that way, then you'll do way better than I'm doing. But that's really all there is to it, guys. For the most part, you're going to be using your regular attack with Phantom Strike. Spear Dance is another very, very commonly used ability, as well as the takedown charge that I just used. But more or less, it's like melee attacks and Phantom Strikes. Those are going to be like the bread and butter of this entire build. And it is like that for, you know, Warfare Dream, really anything that's mixed, Rogue Dream, almost anything that's mixed with Dream. Phantom Strike is just, it's like the bread and butter of almost everything you do. Hopefully this video helps some of you guys out. Hopefully you guys enjoy your Haruspex builds, and I will catch you guys around the next video. Peace.